We're rocking and rolling. I got Colton here. I don't think you've ever been on my channel, but nice to have you here. And you are in Colombia right now.
Yes, that's right. Enjoying the beautiful weather here, escaping the Canadian winter.
Yeah, I wanted to have you on. Obviously, me and you have talked before. I've been on your channel. Can you tell our audience quickly what's your channel?
Financial freedom lifestyle.
And that will be an important channel to go over and follow because you have so many cool tips on it. Obviously, a lot of our paths have crossed. We've invested together before on a few things. You've come into my projects and I've been picking up a lot of tips from you. And anytime I feel like lazy, I'm like, well, what's Colton up to right now? And here you are, you're in Colombia, you're living the dream. You were in Southwestern Ontario. You went out east to Canada. You bought up all of the Halifax area, and now you're living off cash flow, off dividends, off Bitcoin in Colombia. We have no schedule on this call right now, but we're just gonna like see what happens. You guys hopefully pick up some tips and such, and it's nice to talk to you, man. And yeah, inspiring because you're not an old fellow like me, are you?
No. So in a couple months, I'll be turning 33.
Okay.
Journey started. Well, the real estate journey started almost 10 years ago. The stock market journey started. God, now I guess 15 years ago, and the
Wow.
Bitcoin journey started 9 years ago. So I call it kind of the trifecta of asset classes that I think everybody wants to be exposed to. And
Okay.
if if you invest consistently, right now is a perfect example. We just saw Bitcoin go from 110 to down to 80, and while everyone else is panicking, I'm buying. And same thing
Yep.
with the stock market, and same thing with real estate. So just proof that average guy, average Canadian middle class family, can create financial freedom for themselves.
Yeah, I've
Just
been
through
following your
sheer.
X account, and obviously today you're posting buy Bitcoin. If products go for discount at a store, people buy the discount. But in for some reason in our world, they panicked right now, right? So you're there to kind of coach some of your people, and because you have a lot of people follow you as well too, and they do your Patreon, etc. Right?
Yeah. So I mean, the YouTube's free, right? I got all my content's pretty much free, and I just have a select group of individuals who are really committed to the Patreon there. But yeah, all it is pretty much just spreading the message that essentially what we were taught in school is probably wrong in terms of investing if you even learned it in school. And I mean, I went to business college for 3 years and didn't learn anything about business, true business economics. So for me, really, it's just showing people like, you know, when there's fear, that generally presents opportunity in just about any asset class, as long as you're buying good quality cash flowing businesses or assets. And that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much what I preach, right? Is if the iPhone tomorrow for the first time ever goes on sale for 20, 30, 40%, millions of people are going to rush to go buy that iPhone. But if
Mm-hmm.
Apple stock goes on sale 20, 30%, they're not going to go buy the stock, right? So it's just about reframing people's minds.
Yeah.
Um, Instead of being such a consumer of products, be a consumer of the company and
Right.
own a piece of that company.
That's been a lot of my marketing too, because obviously I'm heavy in real estate right now. And what are you hearing amongst all our old friend real estate investor types? Like Canada's broken, so that they try to show a new shiny thing, which is usually the States, like Florida or something like that, or that, which is it's their marketing play. I get that, right? But there's ways to make money in anywhere because like you'll have the same people that'll tell you to go out to Alberta, go to America, but there's discounts here if you can figure it out, if you can get the sellers down in the world of real estate. Also, it's tough in Ontario, and we get that. And what I've been able to do is get through that a bit because then you can access the equity. Whereas a lot of these investors, whatever their strategies were, they got a hold up at the LTB, they etc., and they're not able to realize these gains. So wherever you go, you can win at these strategies. You just got to kind of stick with it, right? So obviously you've succeeded out east, probably learning that's a lot more cash. You cash flow very well out there, right?
You cash flow well, but I think I mentioned to you before, it's there's pros and cons, right? Like Ontario doesn't get hurricanes, right?
No,
So
we get
like
slushy snow outside. Yeah.
yes, yeah, and we get that too, right? So I'm not here to really knock on anybody's location on where they invest, right? Because everyone, like you said, can find a deal just about anywhere. But the fact that people would say that a certain market's broken just because they personally can't find a deal, I don't think that's the right approach. Like, do I think most of Ontario real estate is overvalued? Single
Definitely.
single families, definitely. Do I currently see off market or even on the MLS? Do I see multifamily that's at a decent price? Yeah, I see that when I reflect back on just doing some research, trying to keep up on other Canadian markets. But the grass isn't always green on the other side, right? Like when I sold everything I owned in Ontario, I was already investing in Atlantic Canada for a couple of years, and I went through hurricanes, right? So I knew, like, okay,
Hmm.
is my cash flow more? Yes. But do I got to keep more in reserve? Yes. Um, our landlord rule favoring a little bit better in Atlantic Canada? Yes, than Ontario, but not compared to Alberta.
Right.
But so there's pros and cons of every market. And the mistake I see a lot of people make, honestly, and it's just because of these gurus you see online is, oh, I find this, 20% cash on cash return in Cleveland, Ohio,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Or like, or
But
Sarasota,
remember,
Florida.
they're advertising back to like the Canadians that they were originally around, right? They're not advertising to like Americans in Sarasota, Florida. They're
Right.
always going back to their like they're farming their network, right? So that's all. It's hilarious to see, which is nothing wrong with it, and I never bash them. But like you Canadians, you need to go invest in this place in Florida or this place in Texas or Ohio. Go across the lake. No, I just love it. It's just like everyone has their marketing approach and they go for it, but it's pretty funny to watch from like outside a little bit, right? And go,
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think the last couple years have really showed the true side of these real estate gurus and coaches, right? Like,
and how many have
and
fallen.
yeah, like I don't hear, I mean, I don't follow a lot of them on social media. You can go on my Instagram. Like I
Mhm.
don't really follow a lot of real estate gurus or investors. But even the ones that I do, their content has drastically changed. And also
Yeah,
like their entire strategy where they went to become a mortgage broker, they went to become a realtor, which isn't a bad thing. But when
to
you go
me, I think we
from,
talked about this before. It's backwards a little bit, in my opinion.
yeah. But like they're not honest with their audience, right? It's
Hmm.
like the reason why, and we all know the reason why they went that way is because they over leveraged,
Hmm.
they over renovated, their properties don't cash flow anymore. They're probably underwater on a lot of these. And that's the reason why they went to become a mortgage broker or a real estate agent, is
Because
because they need money,
yeah, because it's the one
right?
of the quicker ways to get fast cash. It's sales, so it's either coaching
Right.
or it's going to be agent, mortgage broker, etc. Right. So when they were just
Yeah,
cash
and like there's
flowing,
nothing wrong.
living in the south off their cash flow, and everything was good. It's good, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
now it's like, oh shit, I need some quick money. So
Right. Which is why I've always like screamed from the mountaintop, like people need to diversify. People need to
mhm,
have money coming in from other assets. Rather, that is your, if your part-time hustle is a real estate agent or a mortgage broker, or you have dividend stocks like I do, or Bitcoin or private lending or anything like that. Like you guys have to diversify. You can't be 100% in anything,
yeah.
because this is a perfect example, right? Those most people were 100% into Southern Ontario real estate in 2020, 2021, and then 2022 it started falling out. And now,
Hmm.
they're probably maybe they're richer now than what they were in 2020, but they're not living the lifestyle that they thought they would.
Well, and they're probably buying more retail purchases of like single family, duplex, triplex, etc. Maybe they're doing Airbnb to maximize the cash. And then what happens? The cities come in and they change shit on them, right? So then they have to pivot. So
Yeah.
it wasn't easy. They were trying, but you're right. They do need to diversify a little bit. So you have big into crypto right now, plus your dividends. Can you educate me on that? You know?
Yeah. So for me, like, I guess I'll start with Bitcoin. For me, as
Mhm.
a digital asset investor, There's Bitcoin and there's everything else. So I do separate the two.
Do you do both? Do you do some meme coins? You buying the Jeff Livo
Yes,
meme coin soon?
yes, the Jeff Libo meme coin, definitely. But what it is so I'm always 85 to 90% in Bitcoin, and that is money that
85 to
is
90%.
that's just in Bitcoin, that doesn't move, that gets stored in a safe, secure, off or cold storage wallet. And
Yep.
then the 15 to 10% is used to invest in altcoins. But the sole reason to invest in altcoins is just to accumulate more Bitcoin,
Right.
right? And this is I've been talking about this in the private member group I've had it going on for 3 years now, preparing people for what has now evolved, where we see, altcoins go up 100, 200, 300, 400, 500%. And I've been taking profits along the way just to buy more Bitcoin,
Yeah.
right? So that's my crypto digital asset Bitcoin strategy. When it comes to dividends, so for me, I'm really now more focused on cover call ETFs. So what that is they use cover calls because over history, cover calls when you use cover calls properly, you can generate a better return than the average 8 to 10%. So what I'd like to do is I do a lot of research on particular companies. I own the overall NASDAQ. To me, let's go into this a little bit more. So everyone just tries to beat inflation, right? So the key is, oh yeah, you have to beat inflation. You have to beat inflation. Typically, the government says it's between 2 and 3%. We all know that if you factor in inflation and you just try to beat it, you've gotten poorer over the last 5 to 10 years, right? You've gotten rich in dollar and paper figure, but you're actually not living a better quality life
Okay.
because the government doesn't want you to know about currency debasement, which is actually worse than inflation. So on average, uh, the government prints 7 to 9% new currency every single year. So if you add that, plus you add inflation, you need to beat at least, let's just make it 8 to 10%. You need to
Wow.
beat 8 to 10% just to break even. So let's go into this. What are some asset classes that have beat it? It's not the S&P 500. The S&P 500 has just kept up with that currency debasement and inflation. So at least you haven't gotten poorer, but you're still living pretty much the same quality of life. Okay. So over the last 20, 25 years, what has beat that 8 to 10%? The NASDAQ 100 has beat it by an average of 14 to 15% per year. Cash flowing multifamily real estate, operated correctly, has beaten that. Finally, Bitcoin. It's only been around for about 16 years, but it has beat that 10% average.
Right.
So when I look at this, I go, there's no way I want to own bonds because at best I'm going to get 2 to 3%. I'm going to get poorer every single year. I do want to own some of the S&P 500, but kind of just as a diversification play, not necessarily to get rich, but to break even. But my main asset classes are going to be multifamily, cash flowing real estate, dividend paying NASDAQ stocks, right? So the biggest tech companies in the world. I do own some Canadian banks in there, but that's just for some diversification. And then Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So the strategy has always been that when I invest in multifamily real estate, we do the BRRRR method. We still do this today. We just completed one on 18 units. So we always take a portion of that equity that we refinance out. Some goes into Bitcoin, some goes into dividend paying cover call ETFs that produce monthly income for us, and the rest will get invested into more real estate. And we'll just repeat that process again and again and again. And this is what we've been doing over the last 8 or 9 years. And it's worked. It's worked for us. Is it going to work 50 years from now? I don't know. No one can really tell. But based off history, the NASDAQ is the future. I don't think utilities, banking, and insurance stocks are the future. I think it's tech stocks. I think based off my conviction, Bitcoin is the future. And at the end of the day, if you own multifamily cash flowing real estate, it's always proven to be a great asset class to be in.
Yeah. People need shelter no matter
It doesn't
what.
matter where you go. I'm here in Colombia. I can buy multifamily housing here and people will need it.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter where
Exactly.
you are. You can invest in multifamily housing and do well.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And you guys, even went as bold as selling off your primary residence right now, did you not?
Yeah, yeah. So for us, I'll give some backstory on that too. Like we've always, since we bought our first duplex in 2016, lived in a basement apartment, we house hacked, rented out the upstairs. Up until this past house that we just sold, we lived in for almost 3 years, we always lived in a house hack,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
And what we realized was when we moved into like this house, by the way, this house was like, we renovated it. It was a waterfront property, 3.5 acres, like,
Hmm.
beautiful, beautiful property in Atlantic, Canada. And we thought we were making the right decision for our lifestyle. So then as we go living in this property, we love to travel. As you can tell, we are in Colombia right now, and we're going to be here for the next, we'll be here for about 8 weeks total, and then we're going to Europe right from here afterwards. But we like to travel, right? And what we realized is that primary residence, I was constantly worried about um, hurricanes,
Floods. Yeah.
snowstorms,
Oh,
floods, the
sure.
oil getting refilled, somebody snow plowing, somebody cutting the lawns,
Yep.
like all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
While I'm trying to
Homeowner stuff.
travel,
Yep.
homeowner stuff, and I'm not getting paid for it. It's
Hmm.
different when it's my real estate portfolio because I'm getting paid for it every single
Yeah.
month, but I'm
Hmm.
not getting paid for this single family home. And for us, the next few years, we just want to kind of be like digital and travel and spend the summers in Canada, but not want to be there for the winters.
But I'm
So we
assuming you
just
don't own a lot of objects,
no, no,
so
like
you
we
don't
rented,
need a big house per se.
no, no, and we just really lived like I don't want to say minimalist because like I
Hmm.
do have my fair share of collectibles,
Some
which
cigars.
some cigars, some firearms, some,
There you
little
go.
things like that, right? But essentially what we did is we put valuables with family. We rented a little 8x8 storage unit and the rest of our stuff's in there.
There you go.
Because the plan now is we're going to return to Canada in probably late May. We're going to rent an Airbnb or something like that for the summer until September, October. And then we're going to head back out and we're going to come
Perfect.
back here for Christmas because we have family here. And then we're going to figure it out. So for us, yeah, like we sold our primary residence because it just didn't align with our lifestyle. And
Yeah.
again, nothing against a primary residence, right? Like if you have family and all that, like, yeah, it makes sense. It just didn't make sense for us. So we sold it. We made a decent profit on it. And that money has gotten invested in Bitcoin, mainly like 85%. And the rest has gone into our dividend portfolio.
Perfect. No, that's inspiring. I hope to a lot of people too that are at your age, no kids yet. You don't need to chase the Canadian dream just yet if you don't want to, right? You can travel. Like myself, and I don't know if we're rivaling each other, but like I've been to 42 countries in the world. That's either a lot or not a lot for a person
Yeah.
from Ontario person, right? It's not like we're in Europe and we can just hit up seven and before you're 10, right? So we have like America or like Mexico usually, or her the easy ones,
Correct.
right?
Yeah,
So,
Cuba.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, for you definitely got me beat on that. One day I will surpass you in the number of countries, but for us, our travel is really like slower travel, right? Like we go to a country, we went to Portugal in December and we spent the entire month in
Beautiful.
Portugal, right?
Yep.
And just spent like kind of a week in each kind of town we wanted to go. We weren't just, okay, we're gonna go to Europe for a month and hit 17 different countries. It's like, no, that's not what we're gonna do. That's not the type of travel we want to experience. We want to get ingrained with the culture, and really see what it's all about. So like when we go
Mhm.
to Europe directly from Colombia, we're just going to Italy, right? And we're going to do a month in Italy and kind of just slow travel through places. And then after that, we might do a month in Greece,
Hmm.
or we might come home. We're kind of figuring it out there. But
But
um,
it all goes back to just being a real estate investor, and then you started doing some strategic investing as well too, through your cryptocurrency and dividends. Because there could be
yeah,
people watching
absolutely.
that are
Like
just
for
working their nine
I
to five, and they're like, "I could never do that," but you've taken your chances, and here you are, right, having a coffee in Colombia right now. So,
yeah,
yep,
delicious Juan Valdez.
yep, yep. What
But
city are you
yeah,
in?
what's that?
What city are you in?
Cali, city of Cali.
Oh,
So
okay.
one of the hottest cities here. So, and just to give some context, because I know there's a lot of news and a lot of YouTube videos. I am not a part of the passport bros. Okay, everybody. I started coming here in 2014, way before it was popular, and I met my wife, who's from Colombia in Canada, in business school. So, going on just over 12 years strong with her, married for just over 3. And for those of you who are interested in seeing Colombia, it is a beautiful place. Highly recommend you guys coming here and seeing more than just the typical Medellin, which is where most of the foreigners go to. You know,
Yeah.
see Cartagena, go to Bogota, Santa Marta, Armenia, Cali. It's a beautiful country.
Awesome. And you speak Spanish now?
Un poco,
You got your
a
wife to
little bit.
help.
Exactly. Yeah. I can order a coffee by myself. Let's just put it that way.
There you go. Yeah, well, like, you're still financially independent now. You should be on Duolingo every day, and starting to
I
learn.
should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, when it's hilarious because when we're in Canada, I'm like, oh, I should probably keep practicing with my Spanish, but then my wife wants to do the opposite. She wants to always practice with her English. So
Yeah.
when I'm here, it's good because I'm forced to learn the languge faster,
Mhm. Mhm.
which I love. Right?
Yeah.
It's same thing like when I went to Portugal, trying to learn Portuguese was fun.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your coffee time there. I appreciate getting you on. Let's do this more often and cover different topics and such. And yeah, nice to get back on the YouTube here and talking to you as always, man. You're killing it. Obviously, we could talk forever on even okay. We won't go just yet. Your X strategy. What has been your X strategy, Twitter, these days? Because like I've noticed you're trying to put a lot more effort into it, and for a while I was as well too. Um, that's a very big crypto type space, right? So I wasn't sure if you're trying to capture a certain audience over there, or funnel it to your YouTube channel, or like any plans there, or just you're just doing it for fun.
I just like having the freedom to say what I want and
It's a
not
good
be banned.
space. It does
Right?
feel a little refreshing. You could write something offside and you're not going to have a lot of people. You don't, but I mean, you can, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, and
whereas like if I'm on Instagram, I got to do something. I feel like I am a little bit like, oh, okay, if I say this, they're all going to get mad or something like that. I can be a little bit more Trumpy on X if I want to, like rent's good. Pay me rent. If you do it on Instagram, you might have somebody be like, "You can't say pay me rent." It's like, well, why can't
right.
I say that? It's like,
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think all these social media platforms, they go through cycles, right?
yeah, yeah,
And I think that just like how Facebook used to be number one, and then it went to Instagram, and then it went to TikTok, and I think it's going to get to people using more X once they become
hmm,
more comfortable with it. Once people realize the benefits of actual true like free speech,
yeah,
right? Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of Elon, regardless of what people think. I think he's
yeah,
the greatest entrepreneur of our generation. And at the end of the day, what he's doing for America right now, I think given the opportunity, he would do the same thing for Canada since he is a dual citizen.
yeah.
Um,
And for me,
yeah.
the news is on X. Like
Oh,
maybe we're being psyoped into the wrong news, but I mean, if you want to know anything, I go to X now. You don't go to like the news platforms anymore. Nothing to do with the MSN or anything like that. It's just like if you want speed, it's already on X. Like,
for me, if you want speed and and the news that kind of makes sense,
yeah,
I get it from X personally.
yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
I,
No, I
I
know.
find it very confusing when you try to go to the Globe or you go to
Yeah,
the Financial Post. I'm just like, I don't know, it doesn't make much sense. But then on X, it's like, oh, that does make sense. Okay. I don't know.
yeah.
I think it's just a way that the world's slowly getting back to some sort of normacy, in my opinion, where common sense prevails.
Yeah, it's like, well, yesterday the Epstein files phase one got released or something, right? I'm just like looking at X to be like, okay, what happened here? I'm not going to go on to CBC or CNN to like figure it out. I'm like, tell me on X because someone's going to tell the truth here right away. So, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So there's not really a strategy with my X. It's just a matter of
Okay.
that's what
I
I
wanted to
like
ask you
using.
for a while.
Yeah, that's just what I like. I just like using right now more than most things.
Yep. Okay. Amazing. Well, I'll post all your stuff in the description so people can get over and follow you. And thanks, Colton. Stay
Uh,
cool in Colombia.
Thanks, man. And yeah, awesome. Let's do this again soon and
Yep.
looking forward to it. And
Breezy.
as always, right? Pleasure talking with you.
Pleasure, buddy. Let's make some money.
It's all right.